Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Budget 4x4 Life. Today we're going to get into some spicy suspension parts. So I'm very excited to show you guys all that we have on the table today. It's very exciting and we've already got a few of the parts on my Pajero and it's working very well. So yeah guys, today's episode is basically about all the suspension parts. I'm going to discuss which options are best for the type of off-roading you're going to do or what you're going to use your car for, especially for Pajeros today. So essentially we're going to do Pajero and Pajero Sport on the website, but we're also going to do some other Mitsubishi models later down the track. But yeah, for today it's all about Pajero. So strap yourselves in and let's get into it. Right guys, so first of all, let's get into the upper control arms. Now, as you can see, this is the factory control arms on the front of your Pajero. So, I mean, fairly basic, nothing fancy to them. It's just a control arm. So let's get into what are the cons of these ones. Right, so with some Pajeros, when they do get lifted 2 inches or higher, there is a bit of a caster problem. Now, there's no adjustability at all that you can do on the ball joint to make this better. So, technically speaking, if you're gonna do a wheel alignment on your Pajero and it's sort of 2 inch and over lifted, you're gonna have some issues with your caster in the front. Depending on the strut that you go for, like the ball size as well, if you fully flex, sometimes it actually hits on the strut itself. And when you flex upwards into the guard, sometimes it hits the coil. Now this won't be a massive problem. I mean, 99% of people probably won't even notice this, but when I went off-road, I noticed this quite a bit, especially when there's like a clunk noise. Then I was like, oh, something is hitting, and I could not figure out what it was. Until I had a look, fully flexed my Pajero, and I saw, oh, it's actually hitting the strut down the bottom, and when it flexes up, it hits the coil. Not a big problem, but like I said, with the wheel alignment issue, if you're gonna lift your car, you wanna make sure your alignment is done correctly, just so you don't wear out your tires as fast as you shouldn't. So essentially, there is a solution that we've come up with. So let's dive into the options. Right guys, so some of you will be very excited for this part because I showed you on the previous episode a bit of a teaser, but today I'm going to fully reveal what it is. So first of all, there is a aluminium one and there is a metal option. Now let's start with the aluminium. Now first of all, can we all just appreciate how good this looks? Just have a look at this. This is absolutely beautiful. It's made out of billet aluminium and it's fully adjustable. That's the great thing about it. But there is one problem, guys. I've actually run these, as you've probably seen, on a Pajero. The only problem is that it's not really suited for my suspension setup. Now, in saying that, this will be for the blokes that run 0 offset tires and 2 to 3 inch lifts. Now, the reason for that is because of the design. Now, if you have a closer look to the factory control arm, you can see it comes out a lot. Now, the problem with that is that it actually pushes out your vehicle to it's either positive or negative. I'm pretty sure it's positive camber, where your wheel basically gets pushed out like that. Now, the problem is my offset of tires and wheels. So I've got a plus 25. So it's a bit better than factory, but it's not ideal. So at least you'll need a 0 offset, so it comes out a bit further out of the guard and your angles will be slightly better. So that's the first thing. Unfortunately guys, with these ones, it's only for people running 0 offset at least, and 2 to 3 inch lifts. So that's the only thing guys, otherwise it's gonna scratch on the rim, as you can probably see, and yeah, it definitely sucks, but it's all good. That's just one of those things. The other thing is it's fully adjustable on the top, so you can even put it out further. Now this is all the way in as well, so we tried everything, went to the wheel liners, and unfortunately it just doesn't work on the setup. So yeah, unfortunately guys, this won't work for a lot of people, especially Australia, where you gotta keep your Pajero, you know, legal. But if there's anyone else in the world running zero offset tires and going absolutely nuts with your Pajero, this will do. Now you're probably asking me, okay, but is there a solution then? And that's where the metal one comes in, guys. So let me show you what this looks like. So first of all, what is the good thing about this? Now, let's compare this with the factory one as well. As you can see, firstly, it is a tiny bit longer, so that fixes the caster issue. The second thing, if you're gonna fully flex, it won't touch your struts. So that is very good. Now, the other thing as well, if you look at the actual body of it, you can see that it comes out quite a bit wider. So just again, it won't hit your struts. So it basically means you're gonna have way better caster, you're gonna get your wheel alignment right, and you also won't be, you know, scratching or damaging any of your struts. So that's a good thing about it, guys, and it uses a factory ball joint. So that was the other thing about the aluminium set, is that you can't really buy these ball joints at your nearest auto shop, let's say Repco, whereas with these ones, you can. So that's the good thing, and it makes it a bit more worth it for people as well traveling. If you have flogged out ball joints, you can just buy a new one, whack it in. I will put it on the website as well, guys, if you want to add some ball joints to it. I always recommend it if you're going to be, you know, doing suspension anyway and you get in there. I would highly recommend you add ball joints to your order as well, just so you can do it all in one go. Unfortunately, they don't look quite as sexy, I would call it, as the aluminium. There's no adjustability on the top, which is fine. Because that part basically just moves up and down, and you can also buy extended ball joints if you want to have a better lift. If you want to have you know, the standard ball joint, you can always use the spaces that will also be provided, and the good thing is it's also a lot cheaper than the aluminium version. For now, guys, it will be listed as off-road use only, so that's very important. Super Pro recently brought out upper control arms for the Pajero, guys, which is fully engineered and ADR approved in Australia. So that's a good thing. This will be the arms for everyone in Australia that I'd recommend for, whereas the metal and aluminium ones are more dedicated to overseas people, where the rules aren't as strict as it is in Australia, where everything's got to be fully engineered. They also come with a 1 degree caster, which means for better wheel alignment and also more wheel articulation. So that is awesome, and will also be available on the website. Anyway, let's get on to the next suspension parts. Right guys, now these links are super tough. So as you can see, let's compare the two. There you go. So that is the original versus the new and upgraded sway bar links. Now, first thing you can see is that it's quite a bit bigger, which means more flex, finally. I mean, I used to go out for driving, sometimes I would take my front sway bar out just to have the full flex going. Finally, we can sort that problem, because these buggers don't let you get your full flex, whereas these ones are fully adjustable, guys. They can literally turn out and be adjusted exactly how long you want, which is very exciting. So yeah, there you go, guys. It is made out of steel. It's super tough, high tensile bolts. You can finally have your full flex and don't have to take out your sway bar. So happy days, you're legal and you have full flex. That's what you want, especially with a Pajero. Now the other good thing is, as well, guys, that it comes with a front and a rear set, so you can either buy both or you can buy just a separate set. What I would probably recommend, mine was flogged out anyway, so that's why I sort of just got these ones. Without further ado, let's get into the exciting bit, which is the suspension. Righto guys, so let's talk suspension and which setup will be best for you. Now this is the West Coast suspension that's been in my car for almost 3 years, and so far it's been pretty good. It's extremely comfortable and it's done all the hard work that I've done. I've done quite a bit of corrugations, I've done a lot of off-roading, and if I'm looking at the bushes, it actually held on, so that is pretty good. Overall, very, very happy with it. That's why I'm recommending this brand to you guys as well, because I do stand by the product. Even if you use the rear shock, look, I'm compressing it fully and it's coming out as well. So that means it hasn't been flogged in 3 years. So that is pretty cool. But anyway, let's run through the two different ones, guys. So this will be the West Coast suspension one. We're also going to be doing EFS, which is pretty much the same structure wise, bore size wise, and then obviously Dobinsons. Now Dobinsons is the ones that I've recently put into my Pajero just to test it out, see what the hype is about. So far it's pretty good. Like, it is a bit stiffer than the West Coast suspension, but I reckon it's because it's got a bigger bore, and I still probably need some time, you know, letting it set properly. But yeah, so far it's pretty good. But anyway, let's get into the technical details of a twin tube strut and a monotube. Right guys, so I just want to explain the difference between a monotube shock and the twin tube shock. So the twin tube is the EFS and the West Coast, and the monotube is the Dobinsons. Right, so with monotube shocks, they have a single tube design with the piston and the oil reservoir housed within the same tube. Whereas a twin tube shock have an inner and an outer tube design, with the inner tube containing the piston and valving, while the outer tube acts as a reservoir for excess oil and gas. Now in terms of heat, the Dobinsons has a 50mm bore versus the 36mm bore on the West Coast. So in terms of heat, the monotube shocks typically dissipate heat more efficiently due to the single tube design, which allows for better cooling, whereas the twin tube shocks may be more prone to overheating under heavy use due to their design, which can lead to decreased performance over time. So yeah, it kind of just makes sense. If you have a bigger tube and a monotube shock versus a smaller bore twin tube shock, if it's going to go up and down all the time, it's pretty obvious that the monotube shock will be the stronger performer. Now in terms of response and consistency, the monotube shocks generally provide more consistent performance under all conditions due to their design, which helps maintain consistent damping characteristics, whereas the twin tube shocks may offer a smoother ride quality, especially on rough terrain, but the performance may vary more depending on factors like temperature and load. Now in terms of durability, guys, I'm just reading it off here. The monotube shocks are often considered more durable and resistant to shock fade, which occur with the damping performance decreases over time due to heat buildup. Whereas a twin tube shock can still offer good durability and performance, but may require more frequent maintenance to maintain optimal performance. Now that's where the sort of cost comes in, right? So you're spending more money for something that is better, essentially. So the Dobinsons option will be the premium option, whereas the West Coast and the EFS is sort of your entry level, someone that just wants to lift their car basically, option. So it's pretty clear, guys, that both have their pros and cons. So the monotube will be best for people doing a lot of corrugations, a lot of off-roading, towing, that sort of thing, where the car is used, but it's more expensive. Whereas West Coast and EFS is a twin tube, so it's more affordable, but it may require more maintenance in the future, and it's not going to last as long as a monotube shock. So this will be perfect for people, doing beach work, doing, natural parks, that sort of thing, where you don't really use your suspension that much. It's not working as hard as, say, constant corrugations, and you basically just want to race your vehicle. So that's the main differences, guys. But let me show you the outside of them as well, because there's a clear difference of the overall design. So let me show you. So let's start off with the West Coast suspension option, and the EFS one has a pretty much same design, and there's also a lot of other suspension companies on the market that has the same design. So the main difference is at the bottom you can see there's basically two welds, one on each side, just holding this piece to the strut. Now I have seen people doing a lot of rocky stuff where they actually braid this thing straight off. But in saying that, you got to do some really stupid shit. So, so don't worry. That's basically the main difference. Whereas with the rear shocks as well, guys, same sort of deal. So just a weld on the top, weld on the bottom, and the bore as well is obviously a lot thinner. So there you go. So that is the main difference on the outside. Now let me show you the Dobinsons one. Righto, you can just feel it in the weight. So this, guys, is a very premium product, okay? So just look at this ball. It's freaking huge. I can't even get my fingers around it, whereas with the West Coast one, I can. So that's pretty crazy. Now look at the bottom, guys. This thing is solid. There is absolutely no way that you're gonna snap that off. Doesn't matter what sort of stuff you do. If you break that, then you're probably in a car accident or something, which I hope never happens to anyone, but that is just insane. But there's another feature, and that feature is right here. So this is the thing that you're gonna get with the Dobinsons, whereas you don't get it with the West Coast, is that it's adjustable. So the good thing about adjustable shocks and struts is that you can adjust the height for the front only. So if you're gonna, you know, put a bull bar in, if you're gonna put a winch in, that sort of thing, you can always just readjust this. Now it is important to say you can't just adjust it on the fly. You have to take it out, readjust it. But the good thing is, for example, if you have the West Coast suspension option, you put in say a light coil, right? 2 years down the track, now you want to buy a bull bar. So you buy a bull bar, but the spring is not rated to, you know, hold the bull bar. So now your car is going to go from being dead even to boom, nose down. So that is the problem if you go that way. Whereas with the adjustable ones, you can adjust it to your height. 2 years down the track, you buy a bull bar. Now it's going to sag, definitely, but you take it out, you readjust it, put it back in, and your car is going to be level again, instead of going out and buy a heavy duty coil spring, for example. So that's the main benefit, guys, and something that I would really recommend, especially for people, you know, having a lot of gear on their car, like bull bars, winches, that sort of stuff. Because typically if your Pajero is kitted out with those modifications, then it means you work your suspension. You're going off-road, you're doing all the trips, you travel, and yeah, I'm probably going to be traveling soon as well. Not going to give too much away, but that's why I went with the Dobinsons. So yeah, guys, that is the main differences. Actually, there's one feature that I've actually missed. So another thing is, have a look at this, right? So it's got a cover on it, okay? Which is fine. Like, you won't get like rocks and that sort of stuff going into your piston. However, if I'm looking in there, it's open, right? So the problem is sand and mud and everything will go into there, and that's generally how shocks get stuffed. So it's all the fine little things that work their way into the valves. When the shock compresses, it pushes that little fine dirt into the shock, and that's essentially how they fail as well. That's another thing that I've almost forgot to tell you, but yeah, good to know. Whereas with the Dobinsons, so this is the rear shock, right? So here you can see what I'm talking about. So that is the, you know, the piston going back in, and that is sort of where the fine sort of dirt goes and sits, and this just pushes it right in, destroying your stuff inside. So that's sort of where this boot comes in, guys. So if you put it over, there you go, and you seal it up like zip ties, that sort of thing, it's fully sealed. So there you go. So there's no water, there's no mud, no sand, nothing at all getting in there. So that is another feature which is good. That is the main differences. Right, guys, and then obviously last but not least that I want to discuss is Strut Spaces. Mostly if you put a 2-inch suspension lift into any four-wheel drive really, but with the Pajero as well, you're still gonna have a little bit of a nosedive effect, right? So this is where the spacer comes in. Now this is a 60-10mm spacer, which is perfect for leveling out the car. I've got the same one in my car, even though I've got the Dobinsons in there that is adjustable, which is good, is that I can still use the spacer and I don't have to fully max out the strut, which means it actually gives me a bit better performance as well. So that's why I'm going to include them with the Dobinsons and with any other suspension kit as well. So if you do want to level out your Pajero perfectly, whack these guys in on top of the struts, and then yeah, you've got a even Pajero that looks like this. Hopefully that's everything I needed to discuss. I pretty much gave you all the information that I'm thinking of right now. But if there's anything else, guys, make sure to comment down below and ask me the questions and I'll get straight into it. Otherwise, guys, have a look on the website, budget4by4life.com, all the suspension kits on there. And I want to do something special, like if you're still watching this video, thank you so much. I want to give something to you. So I'm going to give you 5% off this kit. So there you go, whack this code in, 5% off this kit, right? Just because you're watching the video, and I appreciate your support. For the first week only though, I'm going to do a 15% off, guys, 15% off all the suspension kits. So make sure you jump onto it, and after the week I'll do sales every now and then. But if you're watching now and it's 6 months later than what I filmed this video, use this code and get 5% off if it's not on sale already. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys. I'm very excited to get into this journey of suspension. And like I've mentioned in the previous episode, if you need any of this fitted as well, let me know, especially if you're in Brisbane, because I have suspension places like Direct Suspensions, Dobinsons. I've got mechanics as well, guys, if you're in Brisbane. So if you need suspension fitted, I don't know, you need a service on your car, you need a clock spring, you need whatever else on your Pajero, let me know and I can point you out to the right guys. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.